Family and Ancestors, the family constellation work is extraordinary in its results. Some of them very, very literal. And over the years that I've been doing this, I've had so many. One thing is, very often people come who have children where their children are estranged from them. And usually, as a result of this work, there's a rehabilitation of the family, and the children come back into the lives of the parent working in quite wonderful ways. I've had many, many examples of that. And then one time I had somebody working who'd come to London and was staying with her mother to work with me. This was when I was working face to face, and she came back the second day and said, my mother's been estranged from her 6 brothers and sisters for 25 years, and while we were working, at the exact time we were working, they all called her. So that's one example. And another example, while we were working with somebody, his sister, who the work in his case was really about, was having dinner with somebody who was watching her and said to her at the moment of our work, "You're changing. You're suddenly looking so beautiful. You're changing before my eyes. What's happening?" So what happens sometimes is, because the work doesn't just affect the person working, it affects the whole field of the family involved. And so everybody changes as we do this work. And then, for example, I've had many examples of where in the family there have been interracial marriages, for example. Just recently I had somebody who had a grandfather who was Chinese at a time when being interracial was considered socially inappropriate. Now, of course, nothing is socially inappropriate, but in one's own family, in families going back, which is what this work is about, obviously, because it's about the family through time, this can have effects down many generations, including the person who's working. And so I had both sides of the family honor each other. And this is also very important when you have somebody who's about to get married. So I recently worked with somebody. She was the daughter was of a Indian background, and the man she was marrying was Western English, in fact. And so I worked with them where I had all the ancestors of both sides honoring each other. And this is extraordinarily powerful. And it's the same with this person where her grandfather was Chinese and her grandmother was American. And so again, I had these two lineages honoring each other. And this is so important because sometimes, even if the current members are okay with it, ancestors who existed at a time when it was socially inappropriate are not. And so it's very important to have the ancestors honouring each other's tradition. And then I've had really amazing literal things. Of course, people come for emotional healing, for psychological healing, physical healing, and people have said, I came with backache and it's gone. Or recently I was traveling down from a conference with somebody, and she had been married for many years and had been trying to have a child for many years. So we were working online around that, and she said that this was her issue. And then about a month later, she contacted me and she said, "Jill, I'm pregnant," after the work. And then I had somebody who worked with me a lot who wanted to find their life partner. And this is, of course, something that many people want to do. It's very up for many people, to find their life partner. And so many times people who've done this work where they've said that was the issue have found their life partner in a very short time. And similarly, getting pregnant, many people have come and said, "I've been trying to have a child, and as a result of this work, they've had a child." So the work can be very literal, not just emotional and healing and psychological healing, physical healing, but actual events happening where they've said that that's the thing that they're most anxious about. And so there really is most extraordinary results. And then another thing that has happened so many times is that people come back and said, after doing this work, I discovered a half sibling, a half brother who I didn't even know existed, or a half sister who I didn't know existed. So the work is about inducting order and coherence into the field. And that means discovering these outliers, these members of the family and members of the field who have been forgotten. And so often this is what happens, that these forgotten, or even if they're known about, disliked or excluded because it's socially inappropriate, members of the family are discovered and honoured and brought back. And the general well-being of the family is improved extraordinarily. And I was very interested recently to watch the film Coco, the Disney film. And it's all about this rejected uncle who is brought back into the family, and joy returns to the family. And this is what the work is about. It's about restoring what's been forgotten or excluded in previous generations. Because if anything is forgotten or excluded in a previous generation, somebody in a later generation is somehow entangled with the same situation. And so it's only when these forgotten or rejected or disliked or abusing members of the family are honoured and restored and brought back into their rightful place that the living can then find joy again. And so this is, again, a wonderful example of order and joy and ecstasy being restored into the family in this way.